Hey, welcome aboard. Here we are. I'm making this on 9/23, and some of these will get out a little quicker. I'm getting caught up on the old videos. Want to thank everybody for helping me get to 25 subscribers. The new goal, and I think I'm going to change it. If we don't make it by the end of this month, I really didn't want to make another splash screen right away, but the 15 Dark Brandon Rise hashtags, that is a pro Biden hashtag. I'm thinking maybe some of the people don't understand. That is a pro Biden hashtag. That hashtag got going as soon as he gave that blistering speech that pissed off all the people on the right. Okay, the topic for this one, like the last video, I am going to be talking about the lawsuit that the Attorney General just brought against Trump. And I saw Stephanie Ruhle show a clip of it. I'm dealing with somebody that's dying of cancer. I'm helping them out. So I am not awake at night a lot. It's affected my streaming. I'm actually having an easier time doing these because I can pick a good day where I'm having a good day. I'm feeling good. Health isn't as bad. And I can pump out two or three of these and then I'm good for a couple days. But I want to talk about that. And I was watching Stephanie Rule this morning on YouTube, and I'm just like, wow, that's a good point. I want to talk about that.
Case.
Let's talk about how this could hurt him. And I want to draw a comparison because already Trump and his family are not allowed to sit on a charity board for 10 years in New York. That's embarrassing. But where the real punishment was, they were forced to shut down their foundation. They actually had to give the money to charities that they promised to, and they had to pay a fine. That's the price. Now, what Tish James is looking for here, Donald Trump and his adult children could not be officers in any sort of business in New York, which that's not really that bad. Who cares? But the real painful thing would be that no New York bank, no U.S. bank could lend to them again. Talk to us about how damning that is. Because if you've got no liquidity, you got nothing.
No, that's exactly right. If you don't have liquidity, you have nothing. And Donald always has these cash flow problems. You know, he claims to be a multi-billionaire, but he doesn't have the cash flow to pay his bills. I'm a newspaper reporter who raised 8 children. I always paid my bills on time. So Donald would be able to operate businesses in New York, but only if he owned them directly. He wouldn't have the shield of a corporation to insulate him. He'd have to own them directly. And he basically is being shut out of business in New York if the attorney general gets a court to rule in her favor in this civil suit. And one of the problems Donald is going to have here is that he took the Fifth Amendment when questioned by the attorney general's staff more than 400 times, Eric Trump something on the order of 500 times. Now, in a criminal matter, you have an absolute right to do that. You can't question it. But in a civil matter, a judge may, doesn't have to, but may draw an adverse inference. The reason you wouldn't answer the questions is that they were damning to your case. And that's going to be also a very major problem for him. But not being able to do business with banks that do any business in New York, well, that would reduce him to some small bank in the middle of Iowa.
But could
Sorry, I didn't have the mic on. Um, that's a better freeze for Stephanie. That's a better freeze. Yeah, better image. I don't know how much this is going to actually hurt him. I really don't. Because I saw an interview with a guy that worked in New York, and he worked for one of the investment banks, I believe in the 90s. And he said that when he was coming up, he was told flat out, yeah, we don't do anything with Trump. He's a bad investment. He said that was known in the upper echelons of news. So I don't know that this is going to hurt him that much, but it is a major blow because I think one of his kids in an interview said that they got most of their money through Russia. And so they haven't been doing a lot of banks. But like, I still think it's important to talk about that because they are going to have some serious, and he's pointed out she does not have any criminal authority except under special circumstances. That has to be done by the district attorneys. She can only bring these civil cases. And she did say that she would be doing criminal referrals to the DOJ and the IRS. Now I'm going to see if I can find it. We got some stuff we got to do, so I'm going to try and wrap this up. But there's one thing that Stephanie wanted to mention, and I want it in here because I'm also going to link the. I'll comment on it when I get to it. Okay, this is the part I wanted to talk about, and I just bear with me, and I'm going to talk on the other side of it. But just bear with me on this.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, though. Let's say he did lie to the banks. He's saying it's the bank's fault. And it's rare that I say, does Donald Trump have a point? But just stay with me. Almost no bank in New York would do business with him because they knew he was a liar. But Deutsche Bank did. In fact, when he tried to do business with Deutsche Bank on the institutional side, I know this, I worked there, and he showed up and said, this is what the value of my brand is, they laughed him out of the building. But instead of walking out of the building, he just walked back in the side door and went to the private bank. And the private bank said, come on in. And they did business with him. So is there some accountability for those who did business with him when everybody else on the street knew he was a big fat liar?
Well, that's the point I wanted to get to. The banks are not innocent here. The insurance companies are not innocent here. There is a great deal of lawlessness going on among our big banks, especially international banks. We have a long history of banks like Citibank helping the then president of Mexico loot the public treasury and hide money. There's just enormous amount of litigation that's gone on about money laundering, helping criminals move money. And we need to really rethink, first of all, the standards of white collar crime in America, which we do very little to enforce. You know, you go rob a bodega with a water pistol and we'll put you in prison. But you rob a bank and do it the way Donald Trump does it, and nothing happens to you. Now, Trump is going to argue all of these loans were repaid. It doesn't matter. If you reach into the company, the bank's vaults and take money, and you put it back later because you won the horse you put it on won at the racetrack, you've still committed a crime. So Donald has real serious problems here, but we do need to look at the failure of our system to enforce the law against big banks and insurance companies. And this is a significant factor in something I've been writing about for 25 years.
Sorry about that. Forgot to turn the mic back on. Um, this is something that is going to be for the governor of New York, the attorney general of New York, and the president of the United States. This comment here, and it's, you know, I hope you enjoy it. Um, this is the thing. You look back in history. Can't remember the guy, the Democrat. He was screwing around on his wife with a paid escort, so he had to leave. You know, Donald Trump's okay, but you know this guy. You know, he didn't force himself on anybody. He just paid for it. He was bad. And then Teddy Roosevelt had this title. It was called Sheriff of Wall Street. And you know, some of it is done by the AG, some of it is done by the governor of New York. And you know, I would really think that maybe the president should reach out to him, you know, or they could do it on their own. But I think maybe we need like a full hands-on deck approach from like federal and state government. But they policed it, and Letitia James seems to be policing it, where she basically talks like, hey, shouldn't the banks take some hit here? And he goes, yes, the banks are culpable, the insurance companies are culpable. And this is something we really need in this country. We need to be, and she talked about it a little bit. She seems to be on board. But this is something we need. We need to basically start looking at this because the things he's talking about, um, this could lead to another bank run like we had during the Great Depression, like we had during the Bush Jr. administration, where like the economy just took a hit. This is something they need to do. They actually need to find these guys guilty. And like he said, if you go in with a water pistol and rob someone, they'll throw you away. But if you rob, if you loot, if you grift like Donald Trump does, look at how long it's taken. Look at how slow walking Merrick Garland is. We need debate. Look at there's 100 members of Congress that Navarro said were in on that Green Bay sweep. I don't even know if they're investigating. And it's been a year and a half, and they don't seem to be bringing charges against any of them. They're slow walking Navarro. Now, maybe they need time to build the case, and I'm okay with that. But when you listen to this guy, the video I did where I was talking about Holder, where he said, he said this like 2 years before Trump got out. He's like, I don't think I'd bring charges against Trump. And he said, when the next president, the next attorney general, they're going to, and you can see this in Garland. There seems to be some resistance in holding these white collar criminals accountable. And I really wish they would address it. That was something that I really, really thought. And I mean, her comment, like, well, look, I worked for this bank. He came in and kind of gave us this, and he was literally laughed out the door. Well, then he went somewhere else, and another bank was willing to deal with him. I I don't understand how this works. These people, if they do this, then they should be an accessory in whatever crimes he's being charged in. And according to this guy, it sounds like I'm right on that. And there doesn't appear to be any, yeah, they're holding him accountable because they've got an attorney general with a pulse and a backbone in there. But this is something, because look at the DA. The DA in Manhattan was handed like, criminal charges on a silver platter for Trump, just like Garland was when he walked in. He had the Mueller report. It was, shovel ready for prosecution from day one. And they just sort of slow walk it. That DA that's out there in Manhattan, he could have brought charges. It sounded like it was all teed up, and he just decided to give Trump a pass. Now that Letitia James has done the work, now it sounds like he might be willing to do it. But it's been a year and a half. And what was it? I think it was Martin Luther King said, "If justice is delayed, it's denied." Well, I mean, a lot of these Democrats, you got the Republicans, they're in there breaking the law when they're in office. And then when the Democrats get in charge, they don't always want to prosecute them. What's the fucking difference? I don't get it. If you've got Republicans in there that are going to break the law and you've got Democrats in there who aren't going to prosecute them for it, it really doesn't matter which ones get elected. And so while we've got some people in there, there's a DA in Georgia, there is an attorney general in New York, and, Merrick Garland seems like he might be waking up from his nap, but I'm not entirely sure. But we need to get some people in there that will actually go after these guys and put them in jail because, you take a look at this. Like if they go after the banks, and they include the banks and the insurance companies in these charges, well then that sends a message for the next one. And like he's talking about the international banks, if they actually do something and make it stick and finally go after these people, it sends a message for the future ones to not do it because but again, if they just give them a little slap on the wrist like Trump has gotten his whole life, this is going to happen again. And if they don't hold these banks accountable, we are just waiting for the next Republican to get in office and fuck up the economy, and we'll need another bank bailout like we did when Bush was in there. And we need to do something about it. We really need to do something about it. And for the governor of New York, the attorney general in New York, looks like it might be on you because Garland seems to be asleep at the wheel. Maybe if you guys show it to him, maybe if you guys send some criminal referrals, maybe he'll wake up, but I'm not holding my breath right now. Leave any comments down below, and I really want to thank everybody. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a great day.